Hey, listen, I know you want to grow your business and help more people, but sometimes you're just not sure how to do it. That's exactly why I created my brand new Learn a New Craft Masterclass series. This is for anyone curious about speaking, writing, coaching, or podcasting. This live masterclass series will be October 21st through the 24th. You can sign up for one masterclass or two, three, or all four. Each masterclass is $97, or you can get all four for $297, which is a 25% discount. Go to newcraftmasterclass.com to get your spot in my brand new Learn a New Craft Masterclass series. I'm going to teach you how to transfer skills that you already have into a new arena, how to expand your influence to new audiences, and most of all, how to help a lot more people. You're going to get access to a 60-minute live training session giving you everything you need to get started, a 30-minute Q&A coaching session, lifetime access to the recordings, and a workbook full of templates and systems to help you get started. Go to newcraftmasterclass.com to get your spot today. That's newcraftmasterclass.com. Hey everyone, and welcome to Business Bootcamp. I'm Christy, Wright, and today I'm going to give you the practical steps you want and the tough love truth you need to succeed in your business. Let's dive in. Now, today I'm so excited because I get to sit down with not only a business expert and brilliant marketing mind, I get to sit down with one of my good friends, Donald Miller. I'm sure you know Donald Miller, but just in case you don't, he is a best-selling author of multiple books, including How to Grow Your Small Business, Building a Story Brand, and Business Made Simple. He's also the host of the Business Made Simple podcast with over 20 million downloads, and his business building frameworks have been used by consultants, coaches, marketers, business owners, and global brands. Donald Miller is very impressive, and he's also just a really good guy. And today we are digging into the art and craft and skill and business model of coaching. You're going to love our conversation. Let's dive in. Don, thanks so much for hanging out. I'm excited you're here.
Pleasure to be here. Good to see you again.
Okay, you and I have had conversations a million times. First of all, we've had conversations on stage. You've spoken at Business Boutique multiple times.
Which
You've
was
been on the
always a
Business Boutique
blast.
podcast. Yeah, it's a fun audience, isn't it?
Really is.
Especially when you get all women, because they laugh better, they're more engaged, they're
They are.
more
I remember the
uninhibited.
first time I did a Mothers of Preschoolers event. You talk about an event that is just going to be really safe, really easy. And I felt like I
Yeah.
was in Vegas.
That's right.
The
That's right.
audience
You feel like you're the funniest person in the world. You're like, I didn't know I was so hilarious.
Yeah, Business Boutique was very similar. So yeah, anytime I can speak to a group of 1,000 women, I'm like, I'm there. Let's go.
That's right. That's right. Me too. So you and I have been friends for years. We've spoken on stages. You've been on the Christy Wright show, and we've talked about a lot of different things in business. And what I'm so excited about today is digging into coaching. But for anybody that is entering into the picture, into the conversation of your business now, what I want to say is your friend that's been, your friend for a while, watching you build your business, Don, is truly like watching someone like a masterclass in how to build a business. And it's not because of just the success you have today. What I want to say is it's been really amazing to watch you evolve and watch the evolution of your business. We were joking about this even before we started recording, but you started with memoirs. No one can see my bookshelf, but I have all of them up there. I read your books in college through Painted Deserts and Blue Like Jazz and, Searching for God Knows What. I know these books. And now I know you as the business owner, business coach, brilliant business mind. And what's interesting is every different stage or evolution of your business is intentional and strategic, and it's a reflection of what you've learned in the last season. I know the business you have today, you couldn't have started 10 years ago, 20 years ago. You wouldn't have known what you know now. And so I want to take people back to the beginning of the business, Dawn. Was that story brand? Was that the first business initiative that you put out in the world?
It was. In fact,
Okay.
I think though, to your point, every book I've ever written could have the same title, and it's Here's What I Learned Last Year. That's just kind of it.
That's right. That's right.
But yeah, I'd written 7 or 8 memoirs. They'd done really well. And the publisher, of course, when something does well, wants another one. As you know, they want the same story over. But by the 9th memoir, I just didn't have it in me. And honestly, nothing else had happened that was worth writing about. So I took a chance and wrote a book about narrative structures laid over marketing and messaging frameworks, which sounds like it's going to sell 5 copies. But really the shtick is, how do you invite customers into a story because I'd studied story so much to write all those memoirs and write a screenplay and all that kind of stuff, that I was fascinated by story and story structure and the many ways you could use it as a lens to look through life. So you could use it in project management, which I had actually written a project management curriculum for Accenture, this consulting firm. That was kind of my introduction to business. And then I just kind of adapted that for marketing and messaging. And that book ended up selling 1 million copies. I mean, much to my surprise. And we're
Right.
actually re-releasing it, a 2.0 version that they expect to sell another 1 million. So, suddenly I was thrown into boardroom after boardroom after boardroom, trying to answer the questions of how can you talk about your products in such a way that people would want to buy them, which was so similar. The Venn diagram overlaps almost completely with how do you get to somebody to turn the page in a memoir.
Yeah.
You have to offer something really clear. You have to, have a lot of conflict and challenge. You have to, to make a brand really intriguing. So that's how I got into it. And then immediately when that book came out, I think Ford Lincoln was the first brand that called and said, "Hey, we're thinking about killing Lincoln, but we want to give it one more stab. And can you help us?
Wow.
Can we just talk to you about what you would do?" And
Right.
I remember telling them I would have a very masculine, sexy guy positioning the Ford Lincoln or the Lincoln whatever, and the closest thing that you want to position this to is Viagra. And 6 months later, Matthew
Success.
McConaughey is sitting in
Success.
a Lincoln Continental looking at a
That's
bull,
right.
rubbing his finger together, and I'm like, "I think that'll do."
I think they nailed it. They got it. They got the picture.
Yeah, and then the next room was Procter and Gamble with the Queen Latifah campaign. So I realized pretty quickly, oh, we're off to the races here. I mean, this is
Right.
very interesting to leaders who are trying to build brands. And so that turned into me having to suddenly figure out how to build a business around a consulting framework.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now there's 30 employees, and I made every mistake you could possibly make. I am an artist out of his element, and had to lean heavily on frameworks and processes in order to build the business. And it has been, it ties for the most fun I've ever had in a career, because honestly, being a memoirist was a blast.
Yeah.
And now running a business where I'm coaching others on how to deliver these messaging frameworks is equally as fun and fulfilling.
Yeah, that's crazy about the Lincoln story. I didn't know that story. I feel like I know a lot of your stories because we've shared stages and been friends, but I've never heard that one. I love that one so much. Let's go back to StoryBrand real quick because I want to dig into the Coach Builder and talk about we're talking about coaching today, but I love talking about StoryBrand because it was really the genesis for
Yeah.
what you're doing with coaching. Now watching this, I've watched all this evolution. So StoryBrand wasn't a book first. What was
No.
StoryBrand first? Was it an event? I really can't remember what you started with. I know it was a podcast.
Yeah,
How
well, the
did you start
framework
StoryBrand the brand?
yeah, the framework, I built the framework and then started taking business leaders through it
Through
around a
workshops and
around a
stuff.
conference table, 8 or 10 at a time, and I did that for years. I mean, we were still figuring it out, a lot of research and development, but, around that table were colleges and universities, plumbers, financial advisors, real estate executives, just and we once we proved the framework worked really, really well and figured out how to dial it in, then I wrote the book. So
Right.
StoryBrand was probably 3 years old in practice before I ever sat down to write the book. And
Yeah.
and also I had so many stories in the book about how it had been applied. And
Right.
so that the consulting more or less came before the book.
Yeah, I remember that because I remember you and I talked about that when we launched Business Boutique in 2015. It was a conference and then it became a podcast and then it became a coaching group. And so by the time the book came out in 2017, I didn't have to say to everyone, "Hey, I have a book. It's
That's
called
right.
Business Boutique. This is what it's about." Everyone was saying, "Thank God, here the book is here."
Yeah, you
And
finally put
I
it
told
down.
you, yeah, and I told you I was like, the same's going to be true for you. Now, you can't always do that as an author. Sometimes you lead with the book and the brand follows, but the way that you did it, where you actually started with the brand and then you validate the concept, like you said, you have all these incredible testimonials and stories to put into the book that lives forever.
Yeah,
And
I considered building StoryBrand as research and development for a book.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
and then the book, of course, was just jet fuel.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Okay, so what the reason I wanted to start with StoryBrand is because then you started you actually coaching and leading people through workshops. Then that turned into StoryBrand certified coaches. Am I saying that right, or is it a different
Yes,
title?
yeah, basically, there's called StoryBrand Certified Guides, but people would
Guides, that's
come to
right.
me they would come to me and say, "Hey, can you make my website?" And I didn't wanna do that. I'm wired as a professor. I like teaching, I like classrooms. So I didn't wanna make websites. So what I did was I put thousands of marketers in a room and certified them to do it. And so we
That's
created
right.
this StoryBrand Certified Guide program. There's about 700 of them now
Mhm.
active in the world, and that program is still growing, to this day. But
Yeah.
that was the big, it was a business move for me to say, I don't want a staff of 500. We have a staff of 30, but let me certify people, practitioners who are already
Right.
doing this and
Right.
doing excellent at it to use my frameworks. And that's been very, very mutually beneficial.
Okay, so take me so from that point where you've got the guides, which of course I know that's the word you use is guide, the hero and the
Right.
guides,
Yeah.
of course they're called guides. So from that point, how did you like in your business mind from, behind closed doors in your organization, you and your team were talking a couple years ago, whenever this was, at what point were you like, my next book is coaching? The next thing we're doing
Well,
is
there was
coaching. Because
one
as a
there's
business owner, you're constantly evolving. How did you get from there to here? Like, take us through your thought process.
there was one more step in there before I got to coaching, and that was, the business became close to a $20 million business. We had 30 employees. We were developing software. We were just doing all this stuff. And I was learning to manage people. I was learning to manage cash flow. I was learning to project manage the creation and launch of products. I was, learning leadership. So I realized as I built my own business, I needed systems and processes in order to make the business run like a machine. And I developed 6 of those. And then people would come to me and say, "Well, teach me to do that." And just like
How
with
do
the
you do that?
guides, I didn't want to.
Right.
I didn't want to coach you on how to grow your business. So I began certifying existing coaches, which was brilliant because they're already great coaches
That's
and
exactly
they
right.
already have clients and they already, and so I did that first. And we had, gosh, by the end of the year, we'll have about 500 of those coaches. So now we have 700 marketing agents and 500 coaches. They're very different. A coach coaches you to grow your business, a marketing guide helps you build a website. So very different businesses. And then the coaches would come to me and say, "Don, I love teaching your frameworks, but I don't know how to grow a coaching business. I don't know how to get new clients. I don't know what to charge them. I don't know how to promote myself. I don't know how to use a CRM." So I ended up writing a book. It started out as just a PDF. Let me write a PDF to teach my coaches how to actually grow their coaching business. And very quickly, I realized I have a lot to say about this. And that became a book. And then I realized, wait a second, what they really need is a small group leader. They need me to write their emails for them. They need a website landing page. They need a menu of products to sell. So we started something called the Coach Builder Community, and it's a community of coaches who come together. And in the first year, our goal is to help you get 100 grand over what you're currently making, or your first 100 grand if you're going into coaching. That proved so phenomenally successful that we believe that's the actual business that will be remembered 25 years from now. I mean, we want
Wow.
25,000 coaches in that community,
Wow.
and we are actively heading in that direction. So uh, that's where we're going, and I've fallen in love with it. I just believe that coaches change the world, and that if I can empower coaches and help them build sustainable business models as coaches, that I will have effectively changed the world through all of these coaches who are so good at loving people. And I wake up every day more excited about this mission than anything else. So what's going to happen is StoryBrand will be one of the frameworks inside of the Coach Builder will become the Amazon of certifications. Will Guidara, who wrote Unreasonable Hospitality, we're filming his certification next week. Michael Hyatt's putting Full Focus Planner inside of Coach Builder. Every year we will release 4 new thought leaders so that our coaches can not only know how to build a coaching business, but get certified in very reputable frameworks and have products that are pretty easy to sell for their coaching business.
Yeah. Well, I want to highlight one of the things that you said that I see even in your story. And then I want to dig into coaching because I'm really excited to talk to you about this. So from memoir days years ago to what you're talking about right now, this is the future, this is what we're doing. At every single pivot, at every single evolution or new stage, you were responding to what your audience wanted,
Yes.
but you also considered what you want to do. And I think that's really key for business owners as they're listening to this right now, because so often they feel like they have to get permission to do a thing. I'm like, well, is that what you want to do? Because there's a million different ways to win in business. There's not one path to success or finance or impact in business. There's many different paths. So if you don't like this path, there's so many other options to you. I love how you would say, okay, the audience wants this, but I didn't want to do that.
Right.
So I figured out a way to meet that need that still aligned with my values and what I want to do. And I love that takeaway for business owners, that every evolution was a response to what the audience was telling you they needed. You're going, hey, there's a business opportunity here. I also love how you said this started as a PDF. So often in business, people look at people look at people like you and they think, oh my gosh, well, you just have all this money, all this team, all these resources. Your stuff still starts scrappy. It starts as a
It's very
PDF to test and
scrappy.
validate the idea, or a sticky note or a back of the napkin. And then it over time, as it's validated, turns into whatever the thing is. So I just love how you're responding to the market, but you're also still staying true to what you want to do, which is so important. So you actually wake up and want to go to your job, which is the business that you own and not something that you dread. And I think that's really key. Okay. I want to dive into coaching with you
Yes.
because this is something we've never talked about. It's your latest book, Coach Builder. It's your Coach Builder community. You've got all this stuff. This is the whole initiative this year, like you just said. And I don't know if you know this, but coaching is what I did before I ever did anything else at Ramsey.
Oh, I
I
didn't know
became a
that.
certified, I became a certified business and life coach in 2010 when I was a project manager at Ramsey and been there for 6 months. So this goes way back for me. I love coaching. I love teaching it. I love collaborating. So I'm super excited to dive in. I have lots of things to ask you about. Okay. First thing, when we talk about coaching, is in your world, what are we talking about? Are you talking about specifically business coaches? Or are you also talk finance coaches? Are you talking about career coaches, parenting coaches? Or are you focused on business? Let's kind of define the word coach for people, because I don't want people to listen to this go, oh, I'm opting out. That's not me.
Yeah.
Because anybody could be a coach, but I want you to explain what you mean by it.
What I mean by coaching is anybody who has the wisdom to solve a problem for somebody else. And I mean so physical trainers, nurses who could offer a concierge
Yeah.
medical coaching service, law enforcement who could go into your home and figure out how to defend your home against intruders, help you with your security systems, your alarm systems. We're currently working on a defend the home brand right
Oh,
now,
wow.
that where we can certify law enforcement, who by the way are severely underpaid, and
Yeah.
former military who come home from war and are searching for an identity after traumatic experiences. They want to help people,
Right.
but they don't
Right.
know how. And of course, these people have incredible wisdom and leverage
Right.
to be able to offer the world. And I want to provide a
Right.
path for them to do that. There's a gentleman who guards my daughter's school who probably makes $45,000 a year, and he's providing for a family. I know for a fact I can get him another 50,000, effectively doubling his annual salary in 10 days.
Right.
You know,
Right.
if he's charging
Right.
$5,000 to go into your home and help you defend it and help you have a protocol on what to do if somebody breaks in, or what do you do when the husband is traveling and the wife is home with the kids? What are the protocols for those things? There's all sorts of coaching and consulting opportunities out there that people may have never thought of. Nutritionists, physical trainers, financial advisors are essentially coaches. So we're starting with business and we're moving into mindset and life coaching from there. And then we're going to dial down into other specific niches like defend the home, medical
Yeah.
concierge services, things like that I think could take civil servants who are underpaid in our society and getting them the pay that they deserve and the
Yeah.
pay that their wisdom and guidance deserves. But I would say, a coach is anybody who helps somebody out of a hole. So if you can
That's
answer the
good.
question, the hole that I help people out of is X, then you are probably qualified to be a coach in some way.
Yeah. I love that. And what's so interesting about all the examples you just gave is that the life experience and career experience that those people have is worth more than any
Yes,
training
they are
education you could ever get.
practitioners.
Yes, it's the lived experience. Now they need someone like you in your community, in your book, to organize that into paths for people to go through a coaching session so they know how to actually lead one of those. But so often people think, I need a piece of paper. What they're saying is I need a permission slip. I need more
Well,
education. I
and
need
we
more
wanna give them
certification.
that. I mean, we want those
Yeah.
certifications to exist inside of Coach Builder, but quite honestly, you don't need it. I mean, you already know,
Yeah.
right? We're gonna help
Can you
you.
help them out of the hole?
Yeah, we're gonna help you come up with a methodology of coaching. For instance, let's say you have a child entering junior high. Would you pay $2,500 for a junior high teacher to have 3 or 4 sessions with you, plus, you would have their phone number to be able to call because they know the best practices of families of the highest and most healthy achievers through junior high. So if you have a teacher who's like, look, I've identified the children who make it through and do incredibly well, and I've identified the children whose grades start to suffer. And here's what happens in a child whose grades start to suffer. Their families aren't eating dinner together at night. And they give you a checklist and then coach you on how to make sure your child succeeds in junior high for $2,500. That's a steal. Well, how much money is that teacher making? They're not making.
Right.
They're making 30 or 40, maybe $50,000, and they could actually supplement their income doing what they love, helping the families and children succeed. So I get really excited about the potential of people who never thought they were coaches realizing they are in fact coaches and that their wisdom is worth something.
Well, and is that a big piece of the process for you? Because that's what I wrote down as I'm taking notes here. I would imagine, and we saw this in Business Boutique, Don. One of the biggest barriers to women starting businesses is not a lack of opportunity. It's not even a lack of skill. It's a lack of confidence in themselves that
That's
there's
right.
value to what they bring to the world. And so these teachers, these law enforcement officers, I could imagine them being like, well, this is just what I do every day. Like that.
Right.
Wait, no, nobody wants this. Like they don't see the value in it. And so, how do you come in and help them build confidence so that they even want to pursue this? Because that confidence is a big barrier for a lot of people.
I think in the certification itself, it will be designed, and we've already designed the business one. It's designed in such a way to actually help you understand where the value actually is. If somebody is traveling and their wife and children are home, you have a family who is a little insecure about their situation and somebody on the road who doesn't feel like they're doing their job. And so, but if they have a protocol on here's what you do, you check these locks, you check this alarm system, you have a phone number on hand that you can call in case you need support, you know, all of that stuff is incredibly valuable. It's worth a little bit of money to pay somebody to give you that peace of mind. So when you explain that to the future coach inside the certification, they get the confidence they need to go out and charge for it. And they also have a
Yeah.
product, because we're going to help them. You have a product that costs X amount of dollars and comes with these deliverables that just makes it pretty easy to sell.
Hey, I'm Greer. Together with my husband, we have 2 boys and 2 dogs and raising a child with additional needs. Our day-to-day experience isn't being talked about in everyday life, and I see a gap in those leading people who are neurodivergent. Whether you're a parent, a friend, a teacher, or a neighbor, we can all journey together to better understand the neurodiverse world. I created this podcast to have conversations over a cup of tea or coffee, helping to bring awareness about how neurodivergent people experience the world, as well as families who are raising children with different needs. This podcast will share practical help, tips, and the joys, struggles, and differences in being neurodivergent or raising a child who is. Each week, I will spend 30 minutes talking and interviewing others in the neurodiverse space and giving you the opportunity to learn and grow and feel seen and heard by how we interact with each other and the world. We are so glad you're here. Make sure to hit the follow button so when our first episode drops on October 17th, it will automatically come straight into your podcasting feed.
Hey friends, I'm David McGee. I'm a little crazy, and aren't we all? I want to tell you about a podcast I just launched. It's called A Little Crazy. I teach you how to manage and channel your mental health issues into strength, recovery, and lasting joy. What are my qualifications to lead this conversation? I was once lost and lost it all before I learned to manage better and walk confidently against the grain, becoming a best-selling author and change maker. I dig deep on this podcast to reveal inspirational stories and valuable tools for management, recovery, and personal insight from the perspective of family. Mental health is a family story, as is recovery and finding joy. From crazy faith to love and everything in between, my entertaining guest and I vulnerably smash the stigma and bring down the walls that hold us back. I hope you'll join me on this podcast. Subscribe now on your favorite podcast app by clicking follow, or watch all the episodes over on YouTube. See you soon.
All right, I'm curious for you, when you got into coaching and consulting in the early days, and maybe even now, what surprised you most as you started working with people, and seeing the results or dealing with problems or helping them out of the hole? What surprised you most about coaching in general?
Well, it's, I don't know how much of this I should admit, but early on with StoryBrand,
Let me have it.
what shocked me was how much it worked.
Yeah.
I mean, there was one brand that they dominated the fish market inside of pet stores, aquariums, fish food, all that kind of stuff. They were having trouble expanding the brand into families. They were doing really great with hobbyists. It turns out hobbyists are the ones who buy aquariums and not families. So, after our session, we came up with 3 words: kids love aquariums. And I instructed them to put kids love aquariums on everything, on aquariums, on charcoal that goes in your filter, on fish food. Everything that they sell had to have 3 words on it: kids love aquariums. That's $100 million revenue stream, by the way. They test marketed it about 2 months ago in a single market, and they put kids love aquarium signage. They put it on everything, and there was a 99% increase in sales.
Stop.
So that is $100 million revenue increase at the end of distribution because of 3 words. So I think when a coach has that kind of a grand slam, they don't have a problem with confidence anymore. You just go in and
or charging,
right? Yeah. So I think that was the thing that was surprising, is how and even if you can't get a big win like that, just helping your client not be alone through a struggle is worth a lot.
Yeah.
So I always tell clients, you're not going to be confident as a coach right away, but it's going to take 3 at bats before I promise you will no longer struggle with confidence. But you've got to get out there and swim.
And get the reps. No, that's so good. Get the stories and see their eyes light up, and see the success story in the next coaching session when they tell you how they did the thing and it worked, and you got to have a front row seat to that. I'm curious for new coaches starting out, because I'm guessing a lot of people listening either are new coaches or they want to be a coach, so they would be a potential coach, like you said. What are some of the most common mistakes that you see for new coaches so that our listeners can avoid those when they're getting started?
The number one mistake is they're vague. They're too vague in their offering. I'm a coach would be the equivalent of a restaurant saying we sell protein.
We sell food.
Yeah, we sell. I mean, food would be even more specific, right? We sell protein. Is like, I don't know. I'm nervous about what this is. I think that you can't just sell coaching. You have to sell a sales training. You have to sell a leadership workshop, a guiding principles workshop. You have to sell a management, some sort of management exercise for a fixed fee. So what I'm really talking about is a menu of products. I think before you quit your day job, there's 2 things you want to do. One, you want to sit down with potential clients, buy them lunch, buy them coffee, and say, hey, what keeps you up at night? If you want to be a parenting coach, meet with parents and say, what are your number 1 frustrations? And I want you to write all of those things down. When you start hearing the same thing 4 and 5 times, that's a cue. And it's a cue that it's a clue really that you need to solve that problem as a coach. All right, but don't just solve that problem. Come up with a product that has a name and a price and a deliverable that solves that problem. So you might call it infant sleep training, or I came up with a brand name for we had a night nurse when Betsy had a baby because she had a C-section, so we needed a night nurse. She was a wonderful, wonderful woman. I felt like we had Mary Poppins in our home. But she was getting ready to retire, and she wanted to transition into helping other night nurses so that she didn't have to stay up all night at 60 years old. And we came up with the Dream Baby brand. That Dream Baby says a lot about what you're going to help the baby do. And now she is able to certify other night nurses and she doesn't have to be out all night every night. She can stay
Yeah.
home and sleep in her own bed with her husband and
Yeah.
and still have the same or more impact through a lot of other people who are doing this. So, you got to figure out what's the problem that I'm going to solve and what's the product I'm going to sell to solve that problem. I think you can start a coaching business with one product solving one problem. I think you want to pretty quickly expand it to 3, and you
Okay.
probably don't ever need to expand it beyond 3. And if you have that done, the problem you solve and the product that you sell to solve that problem, and then you have a small database of potential clients, you will not fail. You will not fail in your first year. And when I say you
Yeah.
won't fail, you'll probably make 6 figures.
Wow. Okay, so let's talk about that. Let's talk about the money because you can make really good money as a coach.
Yeah.
When people are getting started, the biggest question I'm asked for people starting anything, but especially in coaching, is how do you get that first client? You and I actually talked about this at the Coach Builder Summit. We talked about how to get that first client when we were on stage, but I want you to unpack this for those people that are going, I don't have an email list done. I'm starting from scratch. I'm really knowledgeable in this subject. Let's use night nurse as an example. She doesn't have an email list. Let's just pretend she doesn't have anything to start with, but she wants to build this brand. Her knowledge is valuable. Her experience is valuable. She can coach, but she doesn't know how to get that first client. How do you help people when they feel so overwhelmed by getting that first paying client?
Yeah, you don't think about a paying client at all. What you actually want to spend 90% of your time thinking about is the problem. And you want that problem, the more painful that problem, the easier it will be to get your first client. So you want to think about, cooking with with deadly food allergies. You want to think about not getting any sleep at night for the first 6 weeks of bringing a baby home and how painful that is.
Which is painful.
Yeah, you want to think about how terrifying swim lessons are for a toddler. Those are the things that you want to think about. And then you want to be able to word that in such a way with short, simple sound bites that word spreads quickly. Word spreads quickly when you are able to solve a serious problem. And that's where I would spend 90% of my time. And then I would actually maybe put that on a landing page or in an email and email everybody whether or not they're in that demographic or not. You have text messages, you have emails before you even have a CRM. You probably everybody listening probably has 200 phone numbers in their phone. You send out a text message to every one of them saying, hey, I just want you to know, a lot of people are struggling with this and I offer a solution. And the solution is this and it costs this much. You're done. That's it. You're done building your coaching. I promise you, you are done building your coaching business. However, if you send out a text message that says, hey, I've always loved babies and I always loved helping them sleep, and so I started a coaching business, it's going to take you twice as long to build it. But when you actually send a text message that says, hey, as you know, I've been a nanny for a really long time. And one of the things that keeps breaking my heart is new babies keeping their mothers up all night long and the mother going crazy because she just hasn't slept. I am solving that problem with my night nurse solution or my how to help a baby sleep. I am solving that problem are the words that you want to use. And when you do that, listen, you're going to have clients, waiting in line. There's a gentleman on my staff. He's on my leadership team. He's actually in line next year to own equity in my company. About 2 years ago, he sent an email saying, hey, I'm leaving my current job. Here's the problems that I solved in my old position, and now I'm going to be doing some consulting. If you're interested, let me know. He sent out one email. I hired him as a consultant. A lot of other people hired him as a consultant. He was so good that I wanted him full time, and I had to buy him away from his existing hundreds of thousands of dollars it took me to bring him in-house, and now he works for me. And I've got to pay him so much that he can't go out and start a coaching business because he makes more with me. One freaking email, Christy. That's what he did. He sent one email, but it was a well-written email that clearly articulated the problem that he solves. And listen, this is going to sound a little shallow, but I mean this not in terms of God's view of people, but in terms of market dynamics. The bigger the problem you solve, the more you're worth. And so you've got to figure out what is a big problem I can solve, and then how can I articulate that problem so people actually understand how big it is.
I think it's really important as you're brainstorming your business, writing down all different taglines or phrases or words, whatever the audience is telling you or the problems, the way they describe it. I think it's really important for you, the listener, to get really clear on what that problem is and why it's so bad. Because at first pass, I hear people tell me this all the time in business, Don, when I'm helping them even understand the problem they solve in their business, whatever business it is. And they say, well, I don't solve a problem. I'm a photographer. I'm like, oh, but you do. So often they don't understand the problem themselves. And so for them to get into, okay, night nurse, well, I'm getting up with the baby. No. Let's dig below the layers. What are the consequences of not having a night nurse, not having sleep? What's the consequences of not having sleep?
That's
oh
right.
man, like you could pull that thread all day and then you get clear, because if you don't understand the problem you solve or the severity of it, then you can't communicate it.
Yeah,
And so often these business owners, they don't see it.
Yeah, early coaches and early entrepreneurs, they spend a lot of their time thinking about their product and the features and benefits of that product. I always say talk 75% about your customer's problem and 25% about your product, and you'll sell twice as many products.
Wow.
The trigger to buy something, everything that you've purchased, everybody listening to me, everything that you've purchased in the last month, you purchased to solve a problem. Every single dollar you spent to solve a problem. So what does that tell us? It tells us the clearer the problem is, the more clearly that you've communicated the problem, the more likely people are to pull out their credit card and buy it. So in terms of your coaching, become known for solving a very specific problem, and your business is going to take off.
Okay, you said something a second ago that I want to go back to because it was a really, really good point, and I want to make sure our audience doesn't miss it. So when you were using this example of sending out an email to all the texts that you have, all the phone numbers and contacts you have, or the emails that you have, and talking about the problem, how you solve this problem, what I think a lot of people feel in that moment, aside from terror and fear and vulnerability, and what are they going to think of me, aside from all the stuff that they can fear in that moment, they feel like they can't declare that they do this because they haven't done it yet. And what you said, which is absolutely true, I want to echo again so people really get it, is I solved that problem. You can say, I solved that problem. I do this.
Here's how I solved that problem.
That's right. Before you've ever had a paying client.
That's right.
And so I want to make sure people get that, because if not, they're going to tiptoe into this email or this text, all insecure and squirmy. And what I would like to do, maybe
Don't do that.
if it's okay with you. No, I pitched, this was, I'm just keeping it real. This was months ago. I got an application for one-on-one. I do one-on-one coaching in it, like high-end coaching, in addition to my coaching group that's for, the larger group. And I got an application in. It's by application or referral only. This application comes in, and this person comes to me for speaker training. You know that I do speaker training. And so I'm reading through. We have our discovery call. And I learned through the discovery call what this person needs is actually not speaker training at all. They need a completely different service from me that is consulting. And it is completely different than anything I've ever done on my own in my business. I've done it in Ramsey land, but not anything I've ever offered. It's not on my product sheet. It's not on my PDF overview of coaching. It's not in print anywhere, Don. But I pitched this client on a service that does not exist at a price point I've never charged, and said, this is what you need and this is what I can do for you. And he signed, and it has been one of the best deals and big deals I've ever had. But I said, I can do this for you. This is what you need. I didn't say,
sounds like you're struggling with this. Here's how I can solve your problem.
Right. And so I want people to understand, it's not a fake it till you make it, and it's not misleading, and it's not lying. It is offering something that you have to offer, and you're not waiting for permission, validation, waiting for 10 clients to say it's okay for you to get your 11th. You are declaring that you solve this problem before you have a client, because you do, and you can, and you will. And I think that confidence is really key in how you word those emails and texts.
And there's a few things to learn there. One is that your insecurities aren't serving anybody.
No,
they're not serving yourself. They're not serving your client. They're leaning on your confidence. Now, I will say, if you feel that way and it's stopping you from moving, I want you in that text message to say, my first 2 clients I'll be serving for free. And after that, I'll be charging a premium. Say it right there. I'm going to do it free twice, and then I'll be charging a premium. First, you're going to get 2 clients really, really quickly. And then next, you're going to feel confident. That's where you're going to get your confidence. And then you're going to charge a premium after that. There's a need. I learned something really interesting watching the movie Mary Poppins with my 3-year-old. There's a scene in Mary Poppins where George Banks, the father, confronts Mary Poppins about the fact that she has led her children to start a run at the bank, and he has lost his job because of this. And the father says to her, "Explain yourself." And Mary Poppins says, "Mary Poppins doesn't explain herself to anybody." And she walks up the stairs. That's a very critical moment that every coach needs to pay attention to. Your client needs you to have authority. They need you to know what you're doing. And they don't need you to apologize for that. You have to be the guide getting the hero out of the hole, which means you cannot be in the hole. So as quickly as you possibly can, you need to establish said confidence. And you do that by reps. So give it away once, give it away twice, and then charge a premium after that. But get to it.
That's so good. I love that line, Don. You cannot help people out of the hole if you yourself are in the hole. Oh,
that's right.
So visual. So good. Okay, a couple more questions for you on coaching because I know we've got to wrap up here. What one of the challenges with coaching, and I've experienced this, you've experienced this, every coach ever has experienced this, is let's say you build a business, and maybe we're talking to coaches right now that are running their business, and it's a successful business. They're making 6 figures, maybe more, but they are in that dollar per hour treadmill. And the only way to make money is to run on the treadmill. They can't take vacation because they're not in front of a coaching call. And so how do you help people build a successful business that may start in the dollar per hour services and then build it in a way that scales with either passive income or groups or something? How do you help people not get locked into this dollar per hour treadmill where they can't take a vacation or they're not making money?
Yeah, well, we really like a ladder of products. So at the bottom of the ladder, there's going to be free lead generators. There's going to be emails, stuff that's free. About halfway up the ladder, you're going to charge about $200 for something. That could be a 1-hour call. And then you want to upsell from there into a mastermind that may cost $10,000, into elite masterminds or one-on-one coaching that, listen, I know a guy who charges $1 million a year to be your one-on-one coach. And you're not paying for the time you get to spend with him. If you want to sell your company, he knows the person that you're going to sell it to. If you want a new CMO, he knows who that is. So you're actually paying a little bit for his Rolodex. So you want to have a ladder of products so that you know wherever somebody is on the ladder, you know where to take them next. What you build that ladder of products for, though, is to create enough people at the top of the ladder that you can kill the bottom of it. So now you just have, 20 clients that you're meeting with for, maybe an hour a month. So you're working 20 hours a month and you're batching those calls maybe in 1 week. So you get 3 weeks off every month and 1 week on. That takes about 3 years to build that, but that's actually where you want to go. And beyond that, if you get really good at that, you get to where you and I are, and that is you're actually certifying other people to coach for you. And you don't actually coach end users, you're coaching the coaches who are coaching the end users. And that's really where you want to try to head if you want passive revenue.
And the thing that I want to clarify for anybody that may not know this, and you may not, when you are working with high-end client that are paying you thousands of dollars for one-on-one coaching, they actually don't want more of your time.
No, they don't. They don't have time themselves.
You can meet with me every day. They don't want to meet with you every day. They're not doing the math calculation of how many hours. They're not thinking of this as an hourly rate, because to your point, it's how you're going to get them out of the hole, and preferably as quick as possible with as little time as possible. They don't have time. So stop offering. I know a lot of people that if they want to charge more, they feel like they have to give everything away and meet with me every day, once a week. No, these people that are paying your high-end coaching prices don't want to meet with you every week. I guarantee you they do not have the time to meet with you every week. And so it's a different mindset when you're going into high-end coaching, that those people are busy and they're paying you for the problem, for your solution to their problem, not how much time you can hold their hand. They really don't want that. Have you found that?
No, that's 100% true. I have a client now who has Max Strength Fitness, and he's building an entire brand and franchise, and he's incredibly successful. The trainers will spend 20 minutes with you twice a week, and that's it.
Wow.
And he's getting better results. As soon as he said 20 minutes twice a week, I said, "Do you have a Nashville branch?" Because what I don't have is an hour.
Right.
I don't have it.
Right.
And I think
That's right.
coaching is very, very similar. I just talked to a guy the other day. His name is Dan Martell. He's $350,000 for an hour a month, and
Wow.
he's full. There's a wait list.
Right.
And
For an
it's
hour.
because the knowledge that he has on how to, for instance, expand your brand by launching an app is worth millions.
That's right.
So you got to figure out, what do you know that's worth a lot? Now, listen, a lot of you are saying, wait, Don, I sleep train babies. I'm not going to get $350,000. No, but what you can do is you can put 10 moms in a room once a quarter, and then a Zoom call at any time or a phone call at any time for $6,000 a year. If you get 20 of those, that's $120,000 a year, and plenty of grandparents will pay that for their daughters so that they can sleep. So you and I just described a $120,000 business, and that's going to cost you about 8 to 10 hours a month. So, there's just ways to skin it that you can offer the most value to the most people for a premium price.
Yeah, there's the potential is huge. And I think so many people, like you said, whether it's a teacher that's making $30,000-$40,000 a year, or someone that's a nutritionist that's just scraping by to like get clients for their nutrition services, there's so much potential in any business, any industry to use. I love how you said this, the expertise they have to build a profitable coaching career. Anybody can be a coach. You have knowledge and experience that can add value to someone else's life. And there's so many creative ways to build it and offer that value to help people out of the hole. Don, you have a best-selling book, Coach Builder. You also have the Coach Builder community for people that are like, I want this handbook, because you walk them through the framework I know how you are, because you give them steps, your very clear path, all the things. It's what you teach is what you preach is what you do. In Coach Builder, where can people find your Coach Builder book so they can at least get a start on this and go, yeah, I want to build a coaching career?
Yeah, it's two ways. Amazon.com, grab Coach Builder, the book. Audible, grab the audio book and listen to it. You can also go to coachbuilder.com/business bootcamp, and we're giving away a pricing guide. So what that is anybody who is insecure about how much they should charge for their coaching products, you're going to learn a lot from this pricing guide, and you're going to be shocked at how high some of these prices are. But the key is how you talk about each product so that you can charge more for it. So go to coachbuilder.com/business bootcamp, and you can get that pricing guide.
Okay, that's so helpful too, because pricing is one of the things when you're in a coaching business, especially when starting out, you don't know where to start. And as I tell people all the time, in the service-based business, it's a much wider range of what you can charge for something versus a product-based business. Toothpaste, it's probably going to be about $4, maybe $8. Like there's not a big range here in product-based business, but service-based, you hire a professional speaker, might be free, might be $1 million. Coaches are very similar. It's going to be a wide range. And so I think people get really overwhelmed. So that's super valuable. Okay. Coachbuilder.com/business bootcamp to get the free pricing guide where people can learn how to price their coaching services. Don, I'm so grateful for your friendship. I'm so grateful for your knowledge. I have told multiple people when I left Ramsey, you and I have been friends back in the Business Boutique days, but when I left Ramsey, that was such a scary time for me. And there were a handful of people that I really trusted that really came around me. And you were one of those people. And I'm just so, so grateful. I'm grateful to know you. And thanks for just teaching our listeners today, teaching them how they can become a coach and showing them the path so they can build their business.
Well, I'm grateful. Hopefully you and I can help a lot of people change the world through coaching.
Yeah, I think so. All right. Thanks, Don. Thanks so much for being here. All right, y'all. That's it for this week's episode of Business Bootcamp. Be sure to subscribe to the Christy Wright podcast channel and share this episode on social media so other people can get the help they need as well. Thanks for hanging out. I'm Christy Wright, and I'll see you next time.
Hey friends, I'm David McGee. I'm a little crazy, and aren't we all? I want to tell you about a podcast I just launched. It's called A Little Crazy. I teach you how to manage and channel your mental health issues into strength, recovery, and lasting joy. What are my qualifications to lead this conversation? I was once lost and lost it all before I learned to manage better and walk confidently against the grain, becoming a best-selling author and changemaker. I dig deep on this podcast to reveal inspirational stories and valuable tools for management, recovery, and personal insight from the perspective of family. Mental health is a family story, as is recovery and finding joy. From crazy faith to love and everything in between, my entertaining guest and I vulnerably smash the stigma and bring down the walls that hold us back. I hope you'll join me on this podcast. Subscribe now on your favorite podcast app by clicking follow, or watch all the episodes over on YouTube. See you soon.